The first time I smelled it, I thought something had died in the woods. That sour chemical stench. It wasn't nature. It was sewage, thick and oily, clinging to the air. By the time I realized what it was, the damage was done. The HOA had been pumping waste straight onto my land, and I had the proof. I've lived on the edge of Briar Glen for 12 years, a neat, picture-perfect HOA community where lawns match in color and nobody leaves a trash bin visible for more than a minute. My wife and I moved here for peace before she passed away. After she died, I kept the house like she would have wanted, quiet, orderly, unbothered. I never gave the HOA a reason to notice me. Until the day the ground started to rot. It began with the smell, then patches of yellow grass along my fence line. The soil felt greasy, not damp, oily. My wife once joked that if we ever smelled sewage, we'd pack up and leave. I could almost hear her voice that night as the stench drifted through my window. I told myself I was imagining it. I wasn't. The next morning, I called the HOA office. Cheryl, their operations liaison, picked up. I told her about the smell, the dying grass, the black sludge under my soil. She promised to escalate it. That was Thursday. By Sunday, I got a bright red tag on my mailbox violation notice trash bins left in public view. A lie. That was my first warning sign. They weren't going to help me. They were going to bury me. I walked out past the greenbelt that separates my property from HOA land. Fresh tire tracks, new concrete around the drainage basin, a chunk of industrial hose half hidden under a log. My property deed said the fence line wasn't the boundary, the land extended 5 feet beyond it, which meant whatever they were doing it on my soil. I knew that feeling, the snap of clarity when you realize someone's trying to play you, the same instinct that kept me alive back when I served with the Army Corps of Engineers. I took soil samples. My front yard was clean. Mid-yard, a little off. The back fence off the charts. Nitrogen and chemical waste levels spiked so high the pH strip barely changed color. I emailed the board, attached the results, asked for a meeting. They ignored me. The next day, one of my tires was slashed. When Doug Hanley, the HOA vice president, finally showed up with Cheryl, his fake smile didn't last long. The smell hit him before we even reached the fence. I pointed to the blackened soil, the tagged samples. Doug laughed. "Sir, with all due respect, we don't handle water management for individual lots. Probably just groundwater." I said, "Groundwater doesn't eat my grass and smell like a porta potty on fire." He smirked, promised an inspection, and left. That evening, another violation notice appeared: unauthorized storage along the property line. They'd photographed my soil buckets as junk. That's when I stopped asking nicely. I built a notebook, maps, photos, timestamps. The dumping files. Every night, I logged the odor. Around 2 a.m., I started hearing it, a mechanical hum from the woods. I moved one of my trail cams to the back fence. 3 nights later, I caught them. 2 figures in reflective vests dragging a black hose across the greenbelt. The pump started humming. I didn't sleep after that. When I slowed the footage, I saw a face I recognized: Raul, one of the HOA's landscaping contractors. The guy who waved every week as he trimmed the hedges. Now sneaking behind my fence, dumping filth. I sent the footage to an old colleague, Joanna, a former EPA analyst I'd worked with after Hurricane Katrina. She didn't hesitate. "Get me samples," she said. 2 days later, she called back. "Luke, it's sewage. Partially treated high in heavy metals coliform bacteria. That's felony-level dumping." My gut twisted. This wasn't HOA incompetence. This was crime. I drove straight to the sheriff's office. Deputy Alina Suarez reviewed my photo soil tests and the footage. Her jaw tightened. "If that hose crosses your property line, they're trespassing and illegally dumping hazardous material." She opened a formal case file and promised to alert the environmental unit. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't alone. But the HOA wasn't done. Patrol cars began creeping past my house, slowing at my driveway. Then came the letter. "You think you're helping, but you're hurting the community. Stop before someone gets hurt. No return address, no signature." I didn't take it inside, I handed it straight to Suarez. That night I found a new trail cam strapped to the HOA fence pointed at my house. As I filmed it for evidence, my neighbor Karen appeared coffee mug in hand, her smile as fake as her manicured roses. "Having trouble with raccoons again, Luke?" she asked sweetly. "No," I said. "But someone's having trouble with boundaries." She didn't even blink. By then, I was done playing defense. I set up my own traps, real surveillance this time. 2 hidden trail cams, a flow meter buried near the fence, and an audio mic disguised in a birdhouse. Every feed uploaded live to encrypted cloud storage. Let them think they were scaring me. I was hunting them. The bait worked. 3 nights later, 2:03 a.m. My phone pinged. The flow meter detected movement. I pulled up the live feed. There they were again. Raul, the heavyset guy, and this time, Doug Hanley himself. No vests, no pretense. Doug stood inches from the hose barking orders, "Just get it done." No trace this time. The pump started roaring. My sensors recorded the flow rate 6 gallons a minute. I hit record across every device. Then karma hit. The coupler cracked under pressure. Sewage erupted, spraying across the gravel, soaking their khakis, splattering the clubhouse flower bed. Raul screamed, trying to plug the hose with his hands while Doug slipped and fell into the backflow. I watched from my monitor, mouth open. The same man who fined me for unsightly bins was now covered in raw human waste. When they fled, they left the broken coupler behind on my side of the fence, stamped with serial numbers. Trackable proof. I bagged it, tagged the GPS coordinates, and drove it to Suarez by dawn. She looked at the footage and muttered, "That's Doug. And that's Henry Voss, the maintenance contractor. They're finished." By afternoon, state environmental agents in hazmat suits had sealed off the entire HOA lot. The local news showed the scene live, yellow-tape deputies, the tank under the clubhouse exposed like a wound. The headline the next day read, "HOA under criminal investigation for illegal sewage dumping." When I saw Doug again, he wasn't wearing khakis. He was in handcuffs. Raul, too. Even Henry the contractor was dragged out swearing at reporters. Residents lined the sidewalks whispering, filming, pointing. Karen was nowhere to be seen. Later that afternoon, Suarez drove up to my house. She handed me an envelope. "Official notice," she said. "Your property is no longer under HOA jurisdiction." I stared at it for a long time. The air was still heavy with the ghost of the smell, but it finally felt clean. "You did enough," she told me. I wanted to believe her. The next morning, a state inspector named Martin met me by the fence. He flipped through his clipboard, the DQ badge catching sunlight. "You're Luke Granger?" he asked. "The one who blew this open." I nodded. He said, "We took samples from their hatch, the hose. The soil, it matches your data exactly. Portable toilet preservative industrial sludge. They bypassed thousands in disposal fees. If this had gone on another month, the groundwater would have been contaminated for miles." He looked up at me. "You stopped that." I wanted to say I was just protecting my own yard, but that wasn't true. I was protecting everything my wife and I built. The house, the land, the quiet she loved. I almost gave up, you know. When they slashed my tire, when they sent that letter, when I started wondering if I was crazy, maybe I'd made a mistake, but the smell was real. The proof was real, and the truth doesn't vanish just because someone powerful wants it to. That night I sat on my porch, the same spot where I'd watched those men sneaking through the dark. The lights at the clubhouse were off now. The HOA signs had been torn down. For the first time in months, the wind carried nothing but the smell of pine and clean soil. I could almost hear my wife again whispering, "See, you stayed." They thought they could dump their filth and silence me with fear. They thought I'd back down, but justice isn't quiet. It hums like a pump in the dark. You just have to listen long enough to find where it starts. Some battles aren't about winning. They're about refusing to be buried.